Lake Chickamauga has become known as the new bass fishing capital of the South. Thanks to a Florida-strain bass stocking program started in 2000, this Tennessee River impoundment has been producing big bags and big champions in the bass world. Nearly 60 miles long, this 36,000-acre lake has 810 miles of shoreline, great structure, a great mix of vegetation and habitat, moving water, and those big, beautiful Florida-strain giants. Big fish bring big personalities, which makes Lake Chickamauga the perfect place to showcase the amazing talent in the first ever Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit Super Tournament. Major League Fishing anglers are joining FLW pros for a shot at record-breaking bags and over $4 million in payouts. The newly expanded field is headlined by the best professional anglers in the world, and the competition has never been hotter. Last year at Chickamauga, Angler of the Year David Dudley, Cup champion John Cox, and hometown hero Buddy Gross all secured spots in the top 5 on the final day. In their sights was soon-to-be Rookie of the Year Ron Nelson, who went out in the top spot on the final morning. With 10 minutes left until check-in, John Cox threw a Hail Mary and returned to a stretch of trees he had forgotten about.
Come here. Woo! Woo! We gotta go. Oh man, that's what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh.
When the smoke cleared, that pair of 4-pounders gave John a 4-day total of over 83 pounds and his 4th tournament victory.
15 pounds, 5 ounces. Your champion is John Cox. Wow! His 3rd win on the FLW Tour, a former Cup champion.
He will be the best in the world soon if he's not already. Congratulations, John.
On a fall day in 2010, another fishing giant claimed victory here, but with a much different approach. 11-year veteran Mark Rose fished offshore structure and ledges to gain his 3rd FLW win, beating local Wesley Strader by a margin of only 2 pounds, 9 ounces.
I felt really good about having a good, consistent tournament once I found that first big school of fish. Then when I found my second one a couple of days later, that just assured me that I was going to have some consistency, which is what you need in a 3 or 4 day tournament. I felt like I had enough to last, really. I had enough fish in those schools to last me 4 days. And so that was after the day 1 weigh-in, when I was like in second, I knew I had a shot.
Chickamauga doesn't just lure big anglers to its waters, it makes them. In 2013, fishing his rookie season in the front of the boat, Casey Martin found himself shoulder to shoulder with local sticks Wesley Strader and Michael Neal and fishing giants Larry Nixon and Andy Morgan. He eventually found 3 schools of bass to fish from, one of which was a mega school and a giant ledge.
Woo! Oh gosh, that's a big one. Oh yes, yes. Look at that. Another solid fish. Oh, yes. Woo! That's why you don't give up right there. 6.5.
In one of the most dominating victories in FLW Tour history, Martin amassed a 4-day total of 103 pounds and 3 ounces, the 2nd largest stringer in FLW Tour competition at the time. With over 30 pounds of bass on the final day alone, he won with a 22-pound-plus margin of victory, which at the time was the 2nd largest in FLW Tour history. Whether it's a bass fishing legend, a local hero, or one of the 28 rookies waiting to break out, a new champion is going to be crowned at Lake Chickamauga this year. And with a field that includes 56 Major League Fishing pros joining the FLW family for the first of 3 super tournaments, the stakes have never been more interesting. This truly is the land of giants. Welcome back, bass fishing fans. It's day 2 of this 4-day event. here at Lake Chickamauga for stop number 4 of the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit, and our first of 3 super tournaments where we've added 56 pros from the MLF family, bringing our total field to 204 anglers competing for $1.3 million here. Only 50 of these anglers are going to move on to fish day 3, and we're going to find out pretty quick here. Good morning, everyone. Couldn't be more excited about today. I'm Travis Moran here at the studios in Benton, Kentucky, alongside Red Gold Tomatoes pro Todd Hollowell and MLF's very own Marty Stone. Now, Marty, this was going to be a ledge tournament. We all knew it. We had talked to everyone. The fish were going to be caught out on the ledges. Now, looking at our top 6 that we're going to be following around live today, that doesn't seem to be the case.
The beauty with bass fishing is you always expect the unexpected. And we ask, how can you come to Chickamauga when we've got so many fishermen having success shallow? And to me, it's a combination of factors. You look at the spring, it's way behind. The lake, it's back up at full pool, so there's plenty of water in there. You've got a mayfly hatch, you've got a bluegill hatch, you've got weather, clouds and west and southwest winds. And add to that, these ledges have been pummeled the last couple months. So the fishing pressure alone has caused these fish to move and scatter out. Travis, it was almost like it's the perfect storm for it to be a potentially great ledge bite, but there's just enough things going on shallow to make those guys relevant.
And then, Todd, you know what? We've got John Cox and Jacob Wheeler in the 1 and 2 positions, really mixing it up. Great fishermen, very versatile, but really using that shallow water bite, going a little deep when needed. Why don't you break down some of these key areas that our anglers are using on Lake Chickamauga?
Yeah, you bet. I think one of the cool storylines this week is we've got Major League Fishing pros coming in, over 50 of them joining the FLW Pro Circuit Anglers for a true super tournament. I can't wait to see how that shakes out. You know, there's a lot of people who think that the Major League Fishing guys are going to dominate this event. The FLW Pro Circuit guys are really good, and they're holding their own in this. But Lake Chickamauga, we're talking June on the Tennessee River, y'all. TVA impoundment over almost 60 miles long, 36,000 acres on Chickamauga itself, runs north to south. We're taking off out of Dayton, Tennessee. A lot of these guys are making a long run, 20, 30 miles to get to that lower end of Chickamauga where we've got some of the prime real estate ledges we're going to be talking, and that's what everybody expected to dominate this event. But as Marty alluded to, there's a shallow water bite going on here. This whole fishery's in play. We're talking down on the lower end, Chester, Frost, Harrison Bay area, all the way to the dam. You're going to see, I would say, at least half the field congregated in this area and sharing ledges, trying to find places that they think that they're going to have a shot to make the top 50 cut and put them in position to win this event. But Marty, another cool thing about this lake, not just the deep and shallow water, it's the different strains of fish that are in Chickamauga.
Yeah, 100%. This lake is really one of the biggest success stories I've ever seen in this country when you talk about the stockings of Floridas. And when you add the Floridas to the northern strain bass, you create an offspring that's considered an F1 hybrid. And that hybrid bass, it grows to the size of the Floridas, but it has the aggressiveness of a northern fish. And that almost makes the perfect bass.
Yes, and John Cox caught some of those perfect bass yesterday. He actually started his morning up north, didn't find the fish that he thought were up there, headed all the way down south, and then this happened. Marty, you called it early. You said this looks like a shallow water day. Why don't you break down a little bit about John?
It just had the feel. You had the clouds, the wind, the overcast, the rain. And the thing that surprised me with John was the fact that he was down in the Harrison Bay area catching these fish shallow. That's normally where the best ledges are. But because of the conditions, he made a great move. He was up in the upper end of the lake, caught an audible, didn't like what he was seeing, ran down, took advantage of the weather window that he had. And then, Travis, you alluded to it early, he mixed it up really nice. He caught him what I call an in-between zone. It wasn't truly a ledge, but it wasn't against the bank. Caught some key fish doing that. But every move he made yesterday, as we've seen with this angler time and time again, was the right one. I don't know if we've got an angler that fishes conditions any better than John Cox.
And we talked about that different strain of fish that's in Chickamauga, and that's what makes it an interesting fishery. Guys can fish grass, guys can fish the offshore ledges. One of the guys that we saw, our Angler of the Year leader coming into this event, Ron Nelson, he went all in on this offshore ledge bite and really put a good day together, Travis.
Absolutely. Holding on to his first place spot for Angler of the Year race right now, but a guy that's going to certainly give him some trouble is John Cox. So that's a fun story developing right now at this lake. And last year, both these guys at Chickamauga making it to the final day. Actually, Ron Nelson was leading it going into the final day last year, and John Cox beat him out and actually won it. So these anglers are fishing at the top of their game, then throw in the MLF family, and we have, once again, a super tournament. Going to be a lot of fun today.
The weights turned out really good, guys, and you know, we kind of left at that 2 o'clock hour, and Marty was talking about it all day. You know, that the major feed yesterday was that 1 to 3 o'clock window, and it's also the time when the TVA kicks the current on. They open up the dam down there at Chickamauga Dam, and water starts flowing through this fishery, and it can ignite some of these big schools. We heard lots of stories of fish caught after 2 o'clock when we went off live, and you could see the weights just totally lit up the leaderboard. But 24-9 leading this event, Jacob Wheeler. We knew somebody was going to catch a good bag. 5 bags over 20, Marty. That surprised you?
The thing that surprised me, probably the takeaway from that, was we only had 5 bags over 20. I mean, we're talking about a renowned lake. We truly come to this event expecting to see 10, 15 bags over 20 and a potential 30-pound bag stringer. I think the conditions had a lot to do with that. And what I mean by that is the limited conditions. If it would have been bright, bluebird, sunny, and all these fish truly positioned away on the ledges that we thought they were going to be, maybe some of these mega schools are found and fired up. But because of the clouds, the overcast, the lack of current, it scattered out a lot of fish. And when you scatter them out, then the whole field's going to catch some, but no one truly what you would consider caught them on this lake. I think we're going to see that. I predict before this event's over with, we're going to see a 30-pound bag. And I feel like today it'll be even better than yesterday.
Well, at some point today, Marty, I'm going to hear more about your moon phases and how that's going to affect the bite, because you nailed it dead on yesterday, and so you've got my interest. I want to hear more about that. Guys, it's going to be a fun day. For a super tournament, you've got to soup up the coverage as well, and we're going live all 4 days of this tournament with 6 cameras out on the water day on our top 6 anglers to start. Only the top 50 are going to move on to fish day 3, and we're going to get on the water updates from our very own Kyle Wood via Skype a little bit later. And then for you guys watching on YouTube and Facebook, we're going to be reading your comments, interacting with you up until 9 a.m., where then we will move the feed solely over to FLWfishing.com, where that's always your source for the most extensive coverage, where you're going to get the live feed, the unofficial leaderboard, and any of the other articles that we're publishing throughout the day. That's going to go on live till 2 p.m. today, and then we will be picking back up at the weigh-in with Chris Jones and Daniel Fennell at 3:15. So plenty of action for you guys. Before we head out of the water, there is a quick look at your leaderboard. Some guys putting some fish in the boat pretty quick early today.
Some fireworks already this morning. Dakota Ebear rocketing up the leaderboard. 18.5 yesterday. We've got him over 19 pounds already this morning. Fred Rumbanis having a good morning. Justin Lucas already on the board. A lot of fish being caught first thing this morning here on day 2 at Lake Chickamauga.
I'm looking at Rumbanis too. When you look at Boom Boom, that's 16 pounds and only 4 bass right now. So he's got one more to finish out the limit.
And now I cannot see who it is yet, but I'm going to guess this is John Cox right now. Throwing the frog. And talking to him last night, this is the spot that he's relied on a lot in the past, fishing Chick. And that's why he came down here. He said, look, I've caught a lot of big fish here. This just holds big fish, including one that he says was a teener from last year. And he says that he feels that she lives in this area. He's going to throw that frog, and he thinks that's the best chance he's got of actually catching her.
When we were here in April last year for an MLF event, several of our guys, when these fish were on the bed, sat down and later told me, and it lured them in. It lured them in, and they never were successful, but they had several anglers, Jared Littner, I remember being one of them, talking about sitting down and fishing, sight fishing for fish that were in that 12 to teener range. And I didn't hear it just one time. I heard it several times.
Wow. Yeah, John, really excited about this spot. And what he had talked about is that yesterday when we saw him catch some frogfish, he thinks that that was the tail end of that morning bite. And so today, instead of going up north, he drove straight down here and actually hooked up real early this morning with a quality fish. And I think we've got a replay ready to go here. Yep, let's take a look at that now on our Phoenix replay. If you look right there, those weeds are not as matted as they were yesterday. The water's actually come up. He says about a foot.
In the exact same spot. Oh, in the same spot. There's number one, baby. Oh my gosh, that was freaking awesome.
Little meat and salad to start the day.
That frog is deep in there.
Oh, just choking it. Whew. Boy, I was holding my breath. I was like, any second, any second, any second. Whew. There's one down.
You know, another thing that he brought up that I thought was really interesting, Marty, yesterday was that the fish he's catching up shallow, those big fish that were up there, he said were very healthy. They were nice and fat, didn't have any real blemishes on them. He thinks those are actually some deeper fish coming up to feed possibly from the night before or something. And, you know, John being just a shallow water specialist, it was really interesting hearing him evaluate those fish, and he doesn't think those are necessarily resident shallow fish.
Yeah, and to add to that, there's a big mayfly hatch. So anytime you have a mayfly hatch this time of the year, you're going to have a bluegill population that's going to come up and feed on those mayfly. And every fish in the lake didn't get this big by just eating shad and crawfish. A bluegill is a staple of their diet, and they're going to live around these weeds. So to his point, the acceleration of that mayfly hatch, it happens first thing in the morning, and then really heavy, and then the mayflies will die off and hit the water. Bluegill will come up and feed. So what he's found is it could be truly the perfect storm to be able to fish shallow in this area. Travis, my question to you is, did he finally find his frog box? Because he had us concerned, saying yesterday he only had 2 frogs in the whole boat.
I am sorry to say I did not even ask, and I'm very bummed out right now.
I just thought of that when we were watching, because yesterday he kept saying, I've got 2 frogs. And, man, I want him to go into today with a lot more than 2, which obviously 1 was all he needed yesterday.
Yeah, we might be able to get the cameraman to ask if he loaded up any frogs last night.
As I've watched y'all's coverage in the past and watched this angler, to be a great shallow water fisherman, you've got to truly be able to read the environment. Okay, so when you're fishing offshore, you're dependent upon your electronics. When you're as committed to shallow water as he is, and we're looking at a double shot here of Wheeler and Cox. I think Wheeler's hooked up. But Cox is, what jumps out to me is his instincts to be able to read the environment he's in. And that is a skill set that a lot of folks do not have.
Come here, buddy. One, not bacon. Not the mama. Water in there. Not bad. You gotta start somewhere. Man, I had 3 bites this morning other than that one right there. I lost. Ooh, that did not feel good. Lost 2 of them. I don't know what the deal was. I was like, really? Started being a little fickle on your boy. get a few in the box, allow you to move and groove when they start biting good. Huh.
You know, ledge events, oftentimes you hear anglers talk about, golly, I hope I get to be early boat draw, hope we be getting early in flight. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think I'm pretty close. I think Wheeler was dead last yesterday. So being first draw even in a ledge tournament can be overrated. And I asked him, did he had problems getting on any of his water, and he said he got to fish about 80% of everything he wanted to fish.
Just gotta check. Yes. Yes, son. Yes. Did it. We get in. Current's not run yet. Michael's on one of my best places. Dang, I didn't know he knew about that. There's one. Wow.
He just broke his line up.
Got him. I don't know how big it is. Are you kidding me? Gosh. Broke up. My line broke way up. Let's see here. Come here, buddy. Not a big one. Broke way up my line. Caught him. Ooh, he's get a little. Broke my line. Maybe get a little juice on him. He's a 2-pounder. Get a little juice on him. Help that a little bit. Stop the bleeding a little bit. That's crazy. Literally broke my line, and I on a hook set, small one, obviously, and yeah, literally caught him. Went to see my line, was in there. He kept eating it, about 1.5 pounds. He stopped bleeding. Thanks, buddy. Not a big one, but hey. Just glad it wasn't a 10-pounder or something. Gosh, unbelievable. That's unreal. Line breaks way up the dang deal. Okay. That's crazy. You kidding me? We gotta get the thing big one.
You give me a heads up though, right?
Now our first look over to Justin Lucas.
What's that? Right on. We just caught keeper number 2. Honestly, I think that might be even better than I was doing yesterday at this point. I think the main feeding window is going to be like 10 to 2. I think I got one there now. Yeah, he's swimming at us. That might be a keeper. That might be keeper number 3. He will be. I haven't seen him yet, but he's decent.
2.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds. You can use a net on the FLW tour, and I don't have one. We're gonna land this thing like we always do. Come here. Ah, not bad. I'll take it for sure. Probably gonna boat flip them, honestly. There we go. 2 pounds. Drop shot. I don't need to do anything with him. I'll just put him on the... Get an idea real quick. So this is a better start than yesterday morning. I'll say that for sure. He's 2 1/4. Yesterday morning, I started here, and then I kind of struggled to, like, start making it happen. I saw a bunch of fish here, so I came back after a little bit, repositioned my boat in a different angle, and that was the difference maker for sure. So angles are everything when you're fishing offshore. Right now I've got a decent little angle right here where there's some fish up there, so we'll see if we can get another bite. That's 2 in a row. Feels good to be back though, I'll tell you that. I had 3 bad tournaments to start the year. Well, 2 bad tournaments. One that was not so bad. Still missed the check though. It always sucks when you miss a check. It's kind of how we judge tournaments. If you miss a check, it was a bad tournament. So I missed 3 in a row, and now we're gonna get 2 in a row and making a little comeback for the year here. It feels really cool to be fishing FLW tournament again. It's been a long time.
He talked about that a lot last night when I was speaking with him.
Knocked slack in the drop shot. I'm like, I know he's there. Reeling down, reeling down. Finally caught up to him.
In 06 and 08, he won 5 events on FLW circuit in the Toyota Series as a co-angler.
These fish aren't as big as...
He's accomplished so much, sometimes we think he's older than he is. He's still one of the best young anglers on tour, but this is where his roots started.
White bass fishing on top of them. Yesterday, the key with those big ones, I swear, was that no one went over them, not even me. I stayed back and was making long casts to them. And when those fish, nobody idles over them all day and they can set up and feed like they want to, it gets ugly.
He told me when he was going through the boat check line yesterday, it was the same people that when he fished back 12 years ago that were still there. And it just, he said it felt like a homecoming away. And both him and Wheeler, they talked about the fishing the 5-fish format versus the Major League fishing style. And what both of them talked about was how much they enjoy both formats. Both are unique, both are different, and both, and these are 2 professionals at the highest level of their game, said, you know, we enjoy the stress of the Major League fishing, but we love the fact of the strategy of the 5-fish format. And now we're going to see a situation coming up probably next year where the FLW and Pro Circuit's going to have more Major League fishing anglers on a regular basis.
Goal 2 is 20 pounds plus. tuning in here to FLW Live this morning. Good morning. You are staring down the back of Justin Lucas. Started this day, day 2 at Lake Chickamauga. Started in 5th place. Had 20 pounds, 3 ounces yesterday. And Marty, I know you talked to him a lot last night, and he just already kind of described what happened here. But yesterday morning was a different day. We had wind and clouds and rain. We had a wind that was pushing against the current, and the fish were set up, kind of messed up. Justin started on this spot yesterday, and he told you when he left this spot, he realized the fish had moved. Came back later, caught the bulk of his weight. Much better start for him here on day 2. We've got Justin, I think he's got 3. I think he told us he's got 3 already. So we'll catch up here on the leaderboard, but a much faster start for Justin. And you can see these, what I saw yesterday was the Major League Fishing guys much more relaxed in this 5-fish format. A lot of them have been talking about it. You only need to catch 5, you know. In that Major League Fishing format, they got to catch them all day long and can't get behind. Both of these guys look super relaxed this morning. Is that what you see?
Yeah, and Wheeler self-admitted, though, at some point during the day yesterday when he was having a good day, he was missing that score tracker update. But it's part of the strategy and the unknown of the 5-fish format. And again, they were both so happy to be back here because both of these anglers, the foundation of their career started right here with FLW. And they love the 5-fish format. And they love the Major League Fishing style format, but it's different nuances, different strategies, different things that are involved. And that Wheeler told me that at the Pickwick event, the Toyota Series that he won, I said, what did you take away from that event? He said, Marty, I learned how to cull fish again. It'd been a while since he went through that, and you as a tournament angler know that there's a system to that. There's a process to that. And then getting to the weights that each one of these anglers had, being able to then, without having that score tracker update, going, okay, have I done well enough? Do I back off now? Lucas is rotating through 5 or 6 areas, and the takeaway he had is a couple of those areas they repositioned a little bit, which he's super good with his electronics, and he loves to learn during the day. And then Wheeler he rode through 30 or 40 places, and he told me he only got to fish about half of what he wanted to fish because of the time. He got to sit down about everywhere he wanted to. But these guys, they have, to your point of being relaxed, I think they're just at a point in maturity that this type of format, they can breathe a sigh of relief knowing they've only got to catch 5, but here you got to bring them. Your best 5. It's not about adding 2-pounder after 2-pounder. You got to bring them. So there's a different amount of strategy involved in that. And I asked Wheeler, I said, are you targeting bigger fish? He's like, nope, I'm generating bites.
Okay.
And that's the key. You've got to generate bites, and then big fish just show up on this lake.
He's probably whacking them this morning. He's going to be hard to beat.
Talk about the fish and what? Oh yeah, right now? Okay. This morning we started in here, and I mean, I've only caught 1 keeper, but it was one heck of a keeper. I'm gonna show you guys the right way to start a day when you catch one like that.
Wow.
That's the way to get it going. Now we just need to catch 4 more. And they don't even have to be that big.
Let's talk about this area.
This area is got a bunch of pepper grass. It's kind of towards the back of a creek, and I've noticed the water's kind of come up a little bit, so it's spread the grass out as far as what you can see visually, but it's growing around all the points and little ditches and drains in here. And I'm basically just fishing a Cinco real slow, trying to pull it up against those pepper grass stalks. Because it's not hydrilla, it's all pepper grass. And it's kind of, it's got leaves and stuff on it. And I mean, you don't get hung up in it or anything. But I think there's some brim action, brim beds going on in here. And the bite's kind of slow. I mean, it was like that yesterday too, but when I caught one, it seemed to be, the right quality. And I didn't come in and fish this stretch till after 11 o'clock yesterday. So I fished basically right here and right across, in another pocket over there. And all the damage that I did yesterday came from those two little stretches. So we're gonna grind through here and just pick it apart. Hopefully get enough bites to fish tomorrow and stay in the tops.
We're watching 48-year-old Jason Reyes from Huffman, Texas, a Texas guy, a Rayburn guy, Marty, and no surprise to hear him talking about the grass and the ditches and the drains, and he told me this kind of felt like home to him.
I just need to get them to fire a couple different times throughout the day, and I think we'll be fine. I mean, yesterday it showed me the qualities here, so basically just don't spin out, and if it slows down, because yesterday there was, a few times where there was a pretty long lull without a bite, and then all of a sudden I'd catch 2 or 3 in a matter of 30 minutes. So I'm just gonna go real slow. That way I don't fish over anything. Make sure that I don't pass it up or make a cast over here and then a cast over there, and that was the little stretch I could have caught 1 or 2 in.
Marty, you talked about earlier the quality of the bass that are in Lake Chickamauga, and we just saw that right there. That was a beautiful 7-pound bass, a great way to start the morning. I think maybe a little sign of things to come. Maybe this bite is turning on a little bit, but he's not the only one that's been catching big fish. Yesterday, Lendell Martin Jr., right there, a 9-pound, 8-ounce bass. Yesterday anchored his bag, which put him in 4th place, 21 pounds and 9 ounces for the day, earned him the Berkeley Big Bass of day 1, a $500 check.
9.8, that's the kind of bite you want on day 1, right, Marty? So Here's the question, will somebody catch one bigger than that? Are we going to see something bigger than 9.8 over the next 3 days?
The bet will be, will we see a double-digit fish?
Right.
Because it's going to, it's going to take that. And on this lake, I would not, absolutely would not bet against that.
And now here is our look at Lendell Martin.
You gotta be quiet. It's pretty noisy, isn't it?
Hopefully he'll share a little info, more details about how he caught that big fish yesterday.
Hopefully we'll get a bite right through here. Thing about it, there ain't anybody up here. Sort of scared I was going to run up here and have a boat sitting on it. All right.
Yeah, the water's got a lot more color. That really ought to help it, though. I don't know why it wouldn't.
I'm going
Yeah,
out
it
on.
seemed like they were really right on the bank. A lot of the fish in the main river there, they seem to be off the bank a little bit, but when I was up here, they were up a lot shallower. But, new day. Come on now. Yeah, during practice, I couldn't hardly shake them loose. Matter of fact, a lot of them grab as soon as they hit the water.
You know, we come here, and Travis, you mentioned it earlier in the day, expecting it's going to be an all-out ledge battle. And the field's so big, and they're so diverse as fishermen. You know, watching Lindell here, it's him and Reyes, in a way, are against the grain a little bit. And that just shows you how good and how great this lake is. There's literally fish in this lake from one end to the next. And when you add that Florida strain to it and that hybrid strain, we made mention of this yesterday. A Florida largemouth, historically, they don't like to be in that mega deep water, in that 12, 15 foot out there in a ton of current. They like to, and Wesley Strader explained it to me really well prior to this event, they like to meander in that 2 to 8 foot. So this lake, they're always going to be prevalent, and they're always going to be relative on a shallow water bite. And I think under the 5-fish format, that's very, very important here. You know, if it was a major league fishing style format where you really had to add the scoreable bass, then the ledges I feel like would dominate, because that's where you're going to get a lot of bites and weed through a lot of the 2-pounders. But when you're talking about sheer quality of fish, these guys on the bank here are showing that they can keep up.
You got to get a look right there on the map of where Lindell Martin's fishing up the Hiwassee River. A very different approach than the guys who are focused on that lower end and those famous ledges, that area down just south of the Sequoia nuclear plant there in Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. But Marty, here's what I think what's going to happen. You know, yesterday you called it. We had a great shallow day. Rain, wind, clouds. Lindell Martin even talked about, you know, his 3 biggest fish yesterday were on a spinnerbait.
It was actually about 11 o'clock when I got up here during practice.
Will these shallow fish hold up for multiple days? You know, I'm with you. Chickamauga is phenomenal. I've fished her several times, and you can catch them anywhere up and down. But this is a 4-day event. You know, guys are going to have to push that 20-pound mark, not just one day, not just 2 days, 4 days in a row to have a chance to win this event. So do you think it's possible? Do you think a shallow guy can do it 4 days in a row?
If you told me we were going to be here and it was going to be typical end of June, 90-degree weather, bright sunshine, everything was going to be a normal year. And this year has been anything but normal. And then when I look at the conditions that we've got moving forward, every day we've got a 40 to 50% chance of shower. So we're going to have lingering cloud covers around. There's a mayfly hatch going on. We've heard anglers already talk about spawning bluegill. And anytime you have spawning bluegill, there's going to be a collision of bass. Do I truly think this thing can be won on the bank? No, because of just the sheer volume of fish offshore. Do I feel like we can have 3 to 5 anglers make top 10 fishing shallow? After what I saw yesterday, 100%. And then I'll add to that. If a shallow water guy can stay within 6 to 8 pounds of the lead going into that final day, because of what Lindell Martin did yesterday, catching a 9-8, it now makes these guys very relative. They just can't let it get too far away from them.
Well, Jacob Wheeler started the day in the lead, and he just hooked up with another fish. Let's take a look over on our Phoenix replay.
Big, dude. Big. There we go. That's a good one. Man, he got it a little bit wrong, too. He did the same thing. Well, this morning it's gone all over the place. You know, I've been, had about 6 bites and really just trying to get in a little bit of rotation. Yesterday was a little bit easier on me. Have a little bit shorter day today, you know, but we got us 1 decent one and 3 little ones, and so 1 away from a limit, but really on this lake, you don't need to be fishing for a limit. I mean, you want to fish for a limit, you know, get you a limit to calm down, but you need to be fishing for big ones, and that's the only way you really can win. Yesterday I didn't get a ton of bites until a couple little places I actually caught some and checked, and you know, I've been rotating a little bit on about everything. You know, I've been fishing a little bit of grass, little grass edges, little hard stuff, offshore places, you know, and that's really been the name of the game for me yesterday, was really just keeping an open mind and letting the day come to me. Letting it just ride. I'll put a couple things up, I think. A couple things are in my way.
He told me last night that when this event was announced and the location, he spent more time preparing for this event than he has any event in his career. And I know how hard this guy works. And for him to make that statement, and he's not only idled it and looked for all these places that you can find on the down image and the side scan and forward facing sonar, but has spent a lot of time getting to know the lake and knowing areas that aren't necessarily on the chip. And it's not an area where he thinks he's going to pull in there and catch 5 or 10 fish, but it's an area just because it's got the right stuff that he feels like he can give himself a better than average chance of catching some of these better quality fish, because he talks about the pressure on this lake. So much pressure, these fish will adjust and then look for those softer areas with less pressure.
Later. See how those fish are doing. Put a little ice in there. Oh, okay. I don't know.
Man, hey, let me tell you, it is a grind out here. I mean, there just must not be many up here, or they just don't want to bite. It's weird though, because like even just now, we just saw a really decent one come up and hit. And we're just gonna fish a little more of this, and then it just stinks because, you know, anytime they fire up here, I mean, you can get right quick. So it's really hard to quit fishing the grass.
Travis, when we left him yesterday, he had about 20 pounds, and then he ended up weighing in almost, what was that, 23 pounds yesterday, 22. Did he talk about the move he made yesterday, over 23 pounds? He talked about the move he made yesterday afternoon, because I know he said he wanted to go back and look at stuff up the lake, so he must have ran into something.
That's exactly what he did. He went up north a little bit on his way back to the launch ramp there, and fished a little bit clearer water, actually saw a little 4-pounder cruising and threw up a wacky rig ahead of it and was able to connect.
Our first look at the quad screen, our top 4 guys coming into day 2. Marty, what I think is interesting about Chickamauga, and I talked to John after practice, and one of the dynamics about Chickamauga is the space, the distance between this area that John's fishing in right now and some of his more productive areas up the river. We're talking 20, 30 plus miles in between.
Right.
So he's kind of committed, you know, running all the way down to this place. Is it a timing thing? Is this a morning deal? How long do you stay? And then when do you pick the trolling motor up and run 30 miles back up the river and get to those other productive areas? But what I heard from John in practice, what he was really excited about coming into this event was the watercolor. Chickamauga is usually pretty clear, and he said last year when I won, I was fishing with light line and a spinning rod and a Senko, and this year we've got higher water, we've got some color in the water. I'm going to be able to throw a frog, I'm going to be able to use braid, and I do think that has lent well to the shallow guys. But John's in a predicament here, right? So how does that weigh on your mind when your best 2 spots are 20, 30 miles away?
So watching him, because when I'm watching you guys cover him on FLW Live and just being a fan of John Cox and a fan of the way he fishes, the thing that finally started, it dawned on me that most shallow water fishermen that are truly good shallow water fishermen, they have an instinct that you can't teach. It's one that has to be self-taught, and it's a lot of years. And what I mean by that, he reads water, and I keep seeing this time and time again as I'm trying to break down, okay, what's making him great? What's giving him this run? What's allowing him to keep getting better and better in his wheelhouse? And I think, and I got to spend some time with him before we did our heavy hitters event. I listened to him break down Kissimmee for us, and I'm like, instinctually, he understands what it looks like and feels like when he's fishing what I call live water. And in shallow water, that can happen moment to moment. It changes day to day. You can blast them in an area one day and come back for the next week and never get another bite. But there was something that made that stretch special. And when anglers run across that stretch, it's not that hard to catch them. But being able to identify those stretches, have a commitment to be able to move. So to answer he'll get a feel at some point in time this morning that it's either going to happen again or we got to pull up the trolling motor. And that's the instincts of fishing that we on live, we can't show, but it's there.
That music means it's time for another break, guys. Keep in mind, everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook platforms, we are going to be ending those feeds, and the live will only be available at FLWfishing.com, so make sure you guys head over there to keep watching the coverage. We've got plenty more of it here at Lake Chickamauga and stop number 4 for the Tackle Warehouse Pro Circuit Super Tournament. John Cox hooking up quick. A 7-pounder already today in the books. Dakota Hebert, almost 20 pounds.